Good morning, it's Mike, Blackstone Valley Piano here. I'm going to show some interesting stuff this morning. Basically, this keyboard came in for recovering. Straight up, recover the naturals, bush the keys, not a problem. However, the client picked the material they wanted. It had to match something else. At any rate, the material they chose was a molded one-piece top. Molded one-piece tops are all the same width. They're molded, they're cookie cutter, they're all the same width. There's different brands, different colors. Some have a front molded on, some don't. Some are wider than others, but they're all molded, meaning the contouring on the sides, on the edges, everything is all set. It's molded. They're all the same thing. However, key sticks, this is a key stick, this is a key top. Key sticks are not the same width. They're largely cut apart by hand, and it really takes a skilled craftsman to get everything perfect. So at any rate, these key sticks fluctuate greatly. Look at this one is 840 thousandths wide. This is 890, so these are 50 thousandths different. This is 845, this is 805, 904. You can keep going down the line. So basically, the last one is 940 thousandths wide. Well, the molded tops are all molded at 870 thousandths wide. So you do the math, that's quite a difference, okay? That's 70 thousandths of an inch. So as you can see, when I put this top on there, you have 70 thousandths of an inch of material hanging over one side, or you could center it and hang, 35 over both sides. Basically, bottom line is, this key stick would have to be trimmed. And what that would do is it would destroy the spacing of the keys. There's only a certain amount of space between keys, as you can see here on this keyboard. And it's usually around 40 to 50 thousandths of an inch. So if we go shaving an additional 35 thousandths of an inch off a key, we're going to open it up to something crazy like that, and it's going to be ugly. So we can't do that. That's not an option. So basically what we do for tops, we don't use these molded tops unless a client specifies them. And even then we'll try and talk them out of it. We use a sheet acrylic, and we cut it down to usable sizes. This is, right at about an inch or so. So it doesn't matter which key we glue it on. It's going to be wider than any of the key sticks because we cut it so large. And the front as well. We have a 1-inch square, so it's bigger than any of the fronts, so it can be trimmed down. Okay? Now I've taken one of these molded tops and I've trimmed it down to the width of this key stick so it'll fit. Okay? Well, before I started trimming it, it was 910 thousandths wide. So basically I took 100 thousandths off of one side. And if you notice what that did, this is the molded round part. By taking 100 thousandths off, it turned this round into a 90-degree corner. Also on the side, they have a nice molded round over here. You can see. Well, over there you don't. It's just 90 degrees. So think about that for a second. We go putting these molded tops on with the molded contours already on them. On all of these keys, we have to shave down the key sticks that are larger, shave down the key tops that are larger. So basically we're going to end up with crazy spacing because we're going to have to open up the spacing on a lot of key sticks to trim it down to fit the top. And then on a lot of key sticks, we're going to have to trim the tops down. And then we're going to have to create all these radiuses and contours again, when it's just easier to just put a bigger piece on there and create all the radiuses and contours, because doing it this method, it doesn't matter how wide the sticks are. And then you just put all the radiuses on there. this method, you know, you're never going to get the radiuses to match, and it's going to be very apparent. Okay, so enough said. Natural key sticks are not all the same width. Molded tops are, so you're going to find some problems in covering the majority of keyboards, because this is extreme. There's huge differences in these keys, but I find that there's differences in keys. The norm is right around 30-40 thousandths of an inch, still fluctuate from key to key, so it's still not a good option. I think these, you trim them down to any size and it doesn't matter. Now, natural key sticks, not all the same width. Well, sharps aren't either. Okay, there's 3 pianos here. This is a D sharp and F sharp. If you look at the key stick and the sharp cap, or the sharp key top, are the same width. On this D sharp it's 498, this F sharp is 425. On a different piano, see, they're completely different pianos. This one's 510, the D sharp. The F sharp is 470. On this piano, they're the same width, and I'll explain why. This is a keyboard we just got in for restoration. Now you'll notice D sharp, F sharp. The C sharp and D sharp are in groupings of 2, whereas the F and all the other ones are in groupings of 3, the F, G, and the A. So where there's a grouping of 2, there's a bigger space between the sharps, and the sharps are wider. The groupings of 3, the tail, or the spacing between the sharps, is narrower, and the sharps are narrower. So basically, if the sharps in the groupings of 3 were as wide as the groupings of 2, you wouldn't be able to get your fingers between them, which is why they reduce the width of these sharps. Okay, you can even see on this keyboard, this is a very old keyboard, this natural is wider than that one. I don't know if you can tell that, but I can tell just by looking at it. Okay, but if you just quickly zoom by, you won't notice. See that sharp, that natural? And then that one right next to it, this is much wider than that one. But if they're the same contour and everything, and you don't really focus on it, you'll never notice it. So where am I going with all this? Okay, just as we replace natural key tops, the sharps wear out as well. So when we replace them, we have basically 3 options. We have new plastic in a satin, we have new plastic in a high gloss, and we have new ebony. Well, the new ebony is 445 thousandths, new plastic is 455, and this one's 440. So say we were going to, you know, worst case scenario, take this satin sharp and put it on this key stick. Well, look at the difference, 440, 498. We would have to trim 54 thousandths of an inch off of this key stick. Or what would happen? What would happen is what happened to this key top. This key top is 455 thousandths wide. The key stick is 510. So as you can see, there's a ledge. Okay? See, I can get my fingernail on it. There's a ledge on that side of the key, and there's a ledge on this side. So these sharps were replaced, and the technician didn't trim down the key stick. So there's a ledge on the side of the keys, and you'll feel that when you're playing. Okay? This piano, old one, same era as these, the technician did replace the sharps, but if you notice, they also trimmed down the key stick, so it's flush with the new narrower sharp. Okay? See that? And just to show you side by side, look at the drastic difference between the width of those sharps. The one on the left, so much wider than the one on the right. And again, that repeats all the way down the keyboard. These two are wider, narrower, all the way down the keyboard. Now, if you're making a new keyboard, and we make new sharps, it doesn't matter. You can cut your material to any width you want. and you can accommodate any size keyboard. So realistically, you can duplicate this. You can make wider sharps, you can make narrower sharps to replace them, in an original type fashion, or you can just get a new ebony sharp and trim down the key stick. Doesn't matter. So basically, in conclusion, sharp and natural key sticks, natural, sharp, are not all the same width. You have to be careful, or else you can end up with a situation like this. So basically, this client, we already spoke, we have to go with something like this because we have to have the material be bigger than the key stick, then trim the material down to the key stick, not the opposite where you put something narrow on and trim the key stick to the material, which is not uncommon. We get keyboards in here all the time where people will trim down the wood to fit the top, and then what they do is they open the spacing between the keys and it looks ugly, and then it all has to be fixed. So key tops.